Thank you. Hi, I'm Mano Marks. I love these things because I feel like Madonna when I'm wearing them. Nice. Anyway, thank you guys for coming out. I'm here with MAP's team, and you'll hear from a number of us as the evening goes on. I'm just going to do a quick introduction, let you know what we're going to actually talk about. So we're doing the introduction. That's this. We're going to talk about the two major mobile mapping platforms. Kasia's going to talk about that. And then I will talk about extending that platform. And then Chris Broadfoot's going to talk about our Android API, and I'll talk about our iOS API. Then we'll show you some links to some code labs. This isn't really set up as a space for doing code labs, but it'll be the kind of thing that we'll just leave up there, and if you're interested in working on that later, it's a good way to get started with the different platforms. So I'm going to hand this off to Kasia.
Hi. So late last year, we introduced two mobile APIs, the Google Maps Android API v2 and the Google Maps SDK for iOS. They're at basic feature parity. One little difference is that the indoor maps are Android only. But as you can see, we have basically all you need to implement your awesome Maps API application. So we have markers, we have polylines, we have polygons, and as you can see, you can animate. You can use the camera to animate this. We also have different map types, so you can switch between satellites, hybrid terrain, and you can use it to your own advantage. You can use the camera to show the user the awesome vector maps that we have. This is, as you see, you have outlines of the buildings. You can you can put different layers on the map. Traffic layer is one of the most well-known because it's really helpful for users. And you can also use compass and my location, sort of place the user in the space. We also offer tile overlays, so you can develop your own maps layers on top of the map. Here we have a wonderful demo that shows us how Europe is lit up. And those tiles do not come from Google, or might not come from Google. You can simply create your own ones, and as you can see, it works seamlessly. But there's also plenty of room to extend the platform, and I'm going to hand over back to Mano to talk about how you can do it.
Great, thanks, Kasia. So that was the quick introduction to how the two mapping platforms are the same. And as Kasia mentioned, these are the new modern vector mapping platforms that we launched in November and December, which allow you to take advantage of the most modern Google Maps that are out there. So, as we build out these APIs and these SDKs, we haven't incorporated yet all the features that are available through the JavaScript API. So while we're doing that, and as we keep adding features, we've added in the ability to extend the platform through querying web services. These are actually long-standing web services that we've had in Google Maps, one of which, and I think the unfortunately least used of which, is Places API, which allows you to query our data store of hundreds of millions of points. In this case, we're looking for Mexican restaurants in San Francisco. And you get back all sorts of information about opening hours, photographs of the location, photographs, in this case, of some of the food that's available, different ways in which you can extend the platform and get really interesting data about what's around you. So the code for doing something like this is actually the Objective-C code for an example call It's just basically a JavaScript, a JSON web service. So you just load it up in and parse it through. I don't think I need to go through the code very much. I just wanted to give you a sample. This is actually a pretty easy way of doing it, and there's similar easy ways to do this on Android. But basically, you're making a request, getting a response, and then parsing it. Standard libraries. We also provide driving directions. So actually directions in both for driving, transit, and walking and bicycling. So we have 4 different modes. You'll see here this, I don't know if this is showing up well enough, but what you see here is that we also provide waypoint information. So you can say, I want to go to these up to 10 places. Give a one of them starting, one of them ending, and then up to 8 places in between. And we'll route you through them if you ask us to. You can also specify the order in which you want to go to things. So we've basically solved the traveling salesman problem. Now, Matt Toon, who's from the enterprise team, will hate me if I don't mention that in the enterprise version of the Maps API, you actually get up to 25 locations, not 10. So. I should also mention in the enterprise version, you get traffic conditions as well. So then there's the standard geocoding. So you get access to Google's geocoding backend, where you can enter in information and addresses or locations, and we will return back to you a latitude and longitude pair. Pretty simple, basic stuff. We also have things like elevation. What else? Distance matrix. A whole bunch of web services that you can use to extend the platform with additional data. So I'm going to hand this off to Chris to talk to you more about Android, because he's the Android guy on our team.
Hi. So yeah, I'm Chris Broadfoot. I work in the Sydney office as an engineer on the Google Maps Android API team. But I've done a whole bunch of work on other Maps APIs in the past. So let's talk about this. This is very interesting. So this is Google Play Services. So how many of you guys are familiar with this? Oh, quite a few. So you guys are all Android people. Okay, good. So Google Play Services is a relatively new thing. It's basically Google's way of providing additional services on top of the Android platform. And so the neat thing about Google Play Services is that it's updated automatically on users' devices. So as new features are released, for example, at Google I/O, there were a whole bunch of location APIs released. Those are immediately available back to devices through to Froyo. So one of these Play services is the Google Maps Android API v2. So your apps that use these new Maps APIs are available back to Froyo, which is awesome. So this is just a little recap of my talk at Google I/O. So this is essentially our demo was showing me and my co-presenter, Anka, going through Sydney Airport and just showing a whole bunch of interesting features like camera manipulation and animating markers. So this is basically showing that you can have multiple maps next to each other. So map is now provided through a map fragment, which is much more useful. I think the whole map activity thing in the past was absolutely horrible. So this is a great improvement.
Oh, there's a weird animation of the slides. Sorry. I'm not a Keynote expert. I apologize.
Okay. I don't even...
Yeah.
We may not even have missed a slide. Oh, this one's not very exciting anyway. Okay. So that was just a little code snippet showing how it's XML snippet, not very interesting. And the next slide was talking about marker animations. So essentially showing how you can use an animator, Android animator, to animate the position of a marker. And so the new maps are fully featured. You get indoor maps by default. You also get a whole bunch of things that weren't in the V1 API, like simple things like gestures, like double tapping to zoom in. That's all there, so you don't have to code that again. So yeah, indoor maps are great, and you get a floor picker if there's multiple floors. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about activity recognition. This was released at Google I/O as part of the new location APIs. And this essentially lets you get a notification if the user is doing or changing an activity like walking, I think it's actually called on foot, or bicycling or in a car. So another feature released in the location APIs was geofencing. And so this is a great way, a power efficient way to add geofences, and it'll be continually updated and improved because it's part of Google Play services. So I think the location team is getting a whole bunch of good feedback from developers and making improvements to this API.
What's a geofence?
A geofence. Oh, what is a geofence? So a geofence is a way to get a notification if someone or something. Sorry, no. Actually, it's just if the user's device has entered or exited a certain point with a certain radius. So yeah, those are great. Okay.
All right.
So back to Mano.
So you may have heard that sometime last year, Apple decided to change their mapping. Did anybody hear about that? All right. I'm not supposed to comment on that for some reason, but anyway, you just may have heard about that. So they changed their maps, and we decided we wanted to continue to be on every platform and give the users the opportunity to be part of, to use Google Maps on every platform. So we released the Google Maps app for iPhone. This slide's actually wrong. It should say for iPhone, not for iOS. But the Google Maps application for iPhone was released, and at the same time we released the first version of the Google Maps SDK for iOS to allow developers to embed actual Google Maps into their applications. We're really excited about this because the two apps could share some common code bases and renderers so that we could take advantage of all the good work that was gone into that. So you get a lot of those features, and a lot of our job on the API team is figuring out which features are most important to port over as they develop those. So we've had, I counted recently, 9 releases since December, so we're updating pretty regularly. We work in iOS 5.1 or above, and we're at basic feature parity with the Android API, except as you've heard, we don't, at this point, have indoor maps available within the SDK. So it is a static SDK, which means that you download it. We don't have the advantage of Play services where we kind of own the platform. Don't officially own the platform, but we have this platform where lots of people are using our services. So we create a static SDK. What that means for you is that you can take our SDK, download it, install it as part of your application, and then the APIs will still stay the same even if we upgrade to another version. So it's a nice way to know that then the next time you release an application, you get the new SDK and you can upgrade to the new stuff. And we'll actually, if you're developing an Xcode, how many of you are iOS developers? Okay, good. I was suddenly had this little panic of maybe they're all Android developers, which does happen. I'm like, hey, yeah, and then you're an Xcode, and they're like, what? What's an Xcode? I often put this in because this is just a little personal favorite of mine, but there's a little myth going around that the iOS SDK does not work with storyboards. It actually does. You can assign a Google Maps to a view and create your storyboards as you would normally. There's a few. Doesn't work like some of the native views, but it's still a very powerful and easy way to develop your applications. We have some cool things. We have, for instance, core animation support. So this is a demo that Luke did showing how you can do some cool animations using core animation. And you can see here we have a plane flying over the international date line. going down into Hawaii, and using this to do a nice, very smooth animation. This actually is a little bit smoother on device than it is in this video, just because of the projector. So, fun little thing. And this one we always show this one as a video, because neither Luke nor I can actually solve this puzzle. But standard screenshotting that you can do within iOS is supported within the SDK, and so that makes for some fun apps. So for all this stuff and for all your Google mapping needs, developers.google.com/maps. I probably don't have to tell a GDG crowd to go to developers.google.com. And I'm going to just leave this one up. These are some code labs that you can do if you want to get started with these apps. We have 2 Hello Map apps up on, or Hello Map libraries up on GitHub with a description of how to actually use them, one for each of the major platforms. And then we have a code lab that was done at I/O for Android. So that's all. We actually had planned on longer because I thought you would be asking us questions. But this is one of the things. If you use a mic, people tend to ask less questions. It's a weird kind of thing. We were in Tel Aviv, and we couldn't get through the presentation because there were so many questions. But anyway, it's a fun thing. So yeah, we're now open for questions. Luke, stand up and turn around. This is Luke May, also on our team, and Paul Saxman. There holding the beer. There we go, with the nice hair. So we're a little punchy. We just had a long day. So and there's the jet lag. Although I've been around for a couple weeks now, so I don't.
There's a question up the back, I think.
Yes, question in the back. Sam.
Have we got a mic to pass around?
Hi, Sam.
Just yell.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. It took me a while. I got lost. I found the place through Street View.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Good.
Now, one question I was asked is that the people who are worried about how much snooping is going on.
How much what? Sorry.
How much snooping is going on within neighbors snooping? No. Forget about the government. It's neighbors snooping using mobile phones.
Street view thing. Yeah, we're not supposed to talk about it, but that was a long time ago, and it was an accident. So, yeah, but yeah, nothing's going on.
One more question. Hold on.
Steve.
Being one of the few iOS developers in the room, just with the SDK, do you guys verify that the map view is, how I say, Apple compliant? Do we have the assurance that when there's a new release happened that somebody at Google's already built an app with it and tried to get it verified by Apple, so that we don't basically get rejected in the good old verification system that Apple do?
Can I handle that one?
No, but well, because I was like, well, we don't submit just the basic, but the iOS app does.
Yeah.
If you do get rejected, please come.
If you're able to see where you've been on a map, are you able to say, here's everywhere I've been?
Here's everywhere I've been on a map. No, we don't have that built in. We're just talking about the SDK. So if you wanted to build an application that did that, you could conceively do that.
I was just wondering if you had a library.
So yeah, I don't think we have. We don't have Latitude built into the iPhone app. So yeah.
I believe there's iTracks or Tracks for Android and both for.
So on Android,
iOS.
There's My Tracks. There's
My
a lot
Track,
of. There's
yeah,
a lot
lots
of.
But I think there is one for iOS coming out soon, or is out already.
So if you watch the Google I/O video, I think it was What's New in the Location APIs. They demonstrated the new APIs using some app that's going to be released soon, and that gave you a really nice view of what you've done on each day, like whether you've been cycling and then you stopped at a pub or something and then walked home.
I think also Google Plus has location sharing built in as well.
Yeah.
So there was something that actually, if you watch the fireside chat, for Mitchell, who used to be the PM for the Maps API, got to answer a question about Google Plus, where he talked about that. So.
Oh, so that app, I just remember the name. It's called Moves. So I don't know if it's come out yet. Oh, okay, great.
Hi,
Yes. Sorry, can't hear you. The mic seems to be off.
Yeah.
There you go.
Recently, I play with the map V2, and I have problem on the devices with the architecture x86. What about the support for this platform?
So the REST API on
the V2 on X8. Yeah, talk to me afterwards. I actually don't have access to you must have an Intel Mint or something like that. I don't. But yeah, we actually haven't tried it on that because we don't have a device. But I'd like to talk to you.
Hello. Oh,
Hi.
shit, that's a bit loud. Just got a question about the iOS side. You said there was some stuff where you could extend the maps. Have you guys got any sort of built-in methods where you can calculate distances, speed, average speed of the journeys that you plan from point A to point B?
No, we don't have anything yet at this point. You can do it yourself.
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
easily,
I played that earlier.
It's not we don't like in the JavaScript Maps API. We actually have a geometry library that helps you with some of those features, but we don't at this point have it built into the to the app.
Okay.
Let's go with this gentleman.
Hi guys,
Hi.
My name's Grant. I work for a company called Invika. I'm looking at the moment doing a store locator app as part of one of our builds for one of our clients.
Yes.
And I've seen plenty of really bad implementations of store locator on using Google Maps. But I would like to know maybe if you guys have any good examples on Android specifically, maybe one or two that you think is a really good case to kind of be inspired by.
Oh, on Android.
I've only seen bad ones.
Yeah. In the JavaScript API, the FedEx one is actually a very nice one. It's built on Google Maps Engine and some other features. That was for you, Matt. I don't know if you. Yeah, there you go. But no, that actually is it's very nice. It's very well done. Yeah, I haven't seen a lot very well done on mobile devices. Part of it is that clustering is a really nice thing if you are going to show lots of points, but theoretically you should just be showing the one at that point. So, but I would really encourage you to take advantage of something like Distance Matrix, which is one of our web services that allows you to query the distance to multiple locations at once and get back the information. So you only have to make one call instead of doing driving directions to a whole bunch of different places. Sure. Yes.
Hi, I'm Sam, iOS developer.
Okay.
When you try and compile against ARM version 7S,
Yeah,
it doesn't
we don't
compile,
support
the framework doesn't...
Yeah.
We currently don't support ARM v7S.
Sorry, I apologize for having a non-technical question. How much of the world do you actually cover with Google Maps? Because I find places that don't appear to be covered on Google Earth, Street View, and Maps. And the other question was, how often do you update?
In imagery or on vector data? Do you mean like where the roads are or where the imagery is?
Yeah, I mean, just sometimes even being in a place where Google Maps doesn't even recognize where you are.
I think we cover almost all of the world in terms of our road map data. We have at least basic data for that. Our goal is to cover all the world in terms of imagery. So we should have basic imagery data everywhere, but how often we update it actually depends a lot. We don't own satellites. We don't own airplanes. So it depends on the providers who provide that data to us to, which we purchase every year. We spend millions of dollars or licensing this data. So Matt is holding his hand up in the back because he's going to correct me. Was I not supposed to say that? Millions of dollars. It was millions of dollars.
Where?
Yeah. Can you give us some examples of where, for instance? Okay. So, for instance, one of our goals, we have there was a really interesting talk at Google I/O called Ground Truth, and it's up on, you can watch the video on it, which talks about the Ground Truth project where we are sourcing our own data, because a lot of the world didn't actually have good digital maps, and still, some of it still doesn't. The other big project that we have is called MapMaker. So half the world's population lived in countries that didn't have good digital maps, and almost all of them now do. So we're gradually rolling this out, so we're acquiring our own maps data that covers as much of the world as we can get. Now there's a few countries where for legal reasons we're restricted to local data providers. Some places this may sound strange to folks in the UK or where I'm from, the US, but there are some places where you can face criminal prosecution for publishing in what are viewed as incorrect maps. So we actually have to be very careful in a few places. So it's really not, but it is well mapped out. If you go to the Google Earth community, everybody is like, this shed right here, this is this, you know. So yeah.
So another interesting thing is, I don't know if it's true today, but some of our data providers wouldn't allow us to give access to their data through the API. So you might find some places have data on the Maps app, but not through your API maps.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to be conscious of.
Most of those have been resolved. I'm not sure about everyone.
Yeah.
Israel was resolved in 2011. That was the worst.
Yeah, that was the main one.
Yeah. Directions, yeah. Until we get really good data of our own in every country, but you know we're working on all of that. So, interestingly, in Israel, fun fact: you can't publish satellite imagery at less than 1 meter resolution, 1 meter per pixel, by U.S. law. So Google is restricted from publishing imagery of Israel because of U.S. law. I'm from the U.S. I think this is crazy, but you know. Anyway, those are the kinds of things that we have to do. Yes.
Can I ask what now that Google is buying Waze, at what point does their data start to come into into Google Maps themselves?
That's a really good question. So next question. No. So the answer actually Kasia and I were both in Israel last week for another event similar to this, and we tried to get to talk to the Waze team, but Brian McClendon, who's the VP of Geo, said, you know, hands off of Waze, just let them do their thing. Well, they're trying, you know. So we're still in early days of the acquisition. Obviously, this, you know, I think there's a lot of great potential for. I'm going to use a marketing buzzword here: synergy between the product and the Maps product. We haven't nailed down any sort of public roadmap for anything yet, but you can bet that we are really interested in what Waze is doing. They're a great company, and integrating that within our own apps. Yes. You.
Does,
Mike.
If American laws have covered Palestine?
Do American laws cover Palestine? I don't actually know the answer to that, so I can't be sure, but you're wondering why we don't have very good map data in Palestine?
Just being ironic.
Yes. Unfortunately, at this point, we don't have fantastic map data in Palestine. I don't know if there's any legal restrictions related to that, but there aren't any good data providers that we can rely on for Palestine data. So, yes.
Hi, I'm interested in kind of producing kind of just indoor maps for my apps. Are there kind of structures I could leverage off kind of the Google Maps SDK to kind of build my own maps and
Well,
scale?
Chris is our indoor maps expert.
Hey.
Having given a talk last year at I/O.
And the year before.
And
the year before.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
watch the video.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've given a talk on. So I gave a talk on getting indoor maps into JavaScript applications, really. But I mean, we don't really have any APIs around indoor other than turning it on and off. So it's sort of up to you. Although I worked on the Google I/O app, and so that had an indoor map of the Moscone Center, and so that code should be open sourced sometime. And so that's got some interesting indoor stuff in it. But basically, you have to write everything yourself.
Yeah. On the other hand, it is possible to get maps, indoor maps, into the base Google Maps. So if you have, you just search on indoor maps, Google Maps, and it'll walk you through the process for doing that. So if you have a venue that you want to upload and you have a floor plan, you can upload that, and then there's an Android app that you can use. You walk around the venue and you map basically all the Wi-Fi points, and then it gives you very precise indoor location.
I think it's.
I was actually trying to find this morning.
I think it's called Google Maps Marker something.
Anyway, it's yeah. You have to actually upload something first, and Matt is going to tell me.
Yes. Floor plan marker.
Yes, Google Maps floor plan marker.
So yeah, you have to upload your floor plan first,
you, Matt.
and then you can go and walk around.
And this is actually really interesting for companies that use Google Maps Coordinate, which is an app that the enterprise team will help you sell, which is for workforce management. So there was a talk on it at Google on indoor maps at Google I/O called "The Next Frontier Indoor Maps." Fantastic! It's one of the most viewed videos that we had on the Maps team.
Oh yeah, so if you upload your positioning data, it'll come through when you use the new location APIs as well.
Yeah.
So that's another good bonus.
Okay, any more questions?
Matt would like to answer some more.
Hi. Hi. So the current geofencing API is working for circles. Do you plan to extend it for other shapes?
Sorry, we have circles. Do we plan on adding other shapes?
Like polygons, rectangles, or?
Well, we have polygons.
There's polygons.
We had for geofencing.
Geofencing.
Oh, for geofencing.
I have no idea.
Yeah, we don't have any publicly announced plans to do that. That would be an interesting idea. You could probably do some weird algorithm with overlapping geofences but don't do that. All right. Any more questions? All right. Well, we're going to hang around, at least some of us, and we'll, feel free to come up and ask us questions. Happy to do more. And thanks, everyone. Check out the Code Labs. I'll leave that up for a while.